This podcast is a proud member of the Unidentified Network.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day I produced a Louis, had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the Track Extra.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra. For those of you who aren't aware, every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock we bring you a show that's about half an hour, but quite often a little bit longer in length, covering the subject of hard science, weird shit and surreality. And every Wednesday evening at 6:30 we bring you much of the same, but about half the length of the main show on Saturday, in order to keep the YouTube algorithm happy. And we seem to be keeping them happy because we've been going for some years now. The main show on the track's been going, in fact, since 2007 on and off. But for the last 4 years we've been going weekly with the midweek show as well. And this has all been since we got taken over, with the director, the producer being Louis Rosier, my old friend, who's currently in America gallivanting around doing strange things. And I've already made a joke about him being a cowboy and putting up with one of the Tom of Finland pictures, which didn't amuse him at all. And I think it would also not amuse him if I said that he is out studying cougars. That would not amuse him either, so probably the best thing to do is to say nothing and just let his work as producer stand for itself. What are we talking about this week? Well, all sorts of things really, and the thing we're mostly going to talk about this week is the latest issue of our journal, Animals and Men. Now, Animals and Men is a magazine that I started back with my first wife, back in the spring of 1994, 30 years ago. And we said it would come out at least 3 times a year, and in the intervening 30 years we're now up to issue 77, which isn't quite up to the 90 that we should have been, but only 13 being dropped in 30 years, with all the swings and arrows of the wings and sparrows of outrageous fortune, as Horace Coker put it. Isn't too bad, I think. As I said just now, we've just released issue 77 of the magazine, which is something I'm very proud of. Let's have a quick look and see what's inside. First of all, we have the cover, and as you can see, the cover is a picture of my old friend and mentor, Tony Doc Shields, who died earlier this year, God bless him. And the magazine does include a very long and detailed obituary of him, and in particular a list of my life with him. Now, let's have a look at the magazine itself. Well, the CFZ may come over as a jolly bunch of fellows and fellowesses who make funny videos and go on exciting trips places, but we are a reputable scientific organisation. And that's why this journal is laid out like a reputable journal. I remember once in about 1974 seeing an interview with the Suite, who were at the time best known for top 10 pop hits, saying, well, it's strange, but in Japan and Europe, people consider us to be a Deep Purple-like rock band. Well, you know why? It's because we are. Well, people consider us to be a scientific, respectable, reputable scientific organisation, and I hope that this journal proves that we are. And it shows all the people who are in different posts around the world doing stuff voluntarily for the organisation. And then we continue through my editorial, which is a piece of writing, quite an impassioned piece of writing, about the recent scandal that has taken place within the British Bigfoot investigation world, where some of the fault lines that already existed within the community got exacerbated and finally broken over by the input of a lady who shall not be named from one of the American Bigfoot research organizations, who is best known for her appearances on an American Bigfoot-related TV show. I go on to say that whether you agree with Daniel Barnett's research or not, and I agree with some of it and I don't agree with other bits, but one has to remember that this boy is 15 and autistic, and to bully a 15-year-old autistic boy just for your own personal self-aggrandizement is absolutely unforgivable by any metric. And then I go on to talk about how, in my opinion, the fact that so many people who are interested in and even call themselves cryptozoology researchers came there through some very facile American TV shows, not through Hovermans and Ivan T. Sanderson and me and Richard and all the reputable ways, and truly don't know what they're talking about, and think that people like me and Richard are hopelessly old-fashioned fuddy-duddies. Well, I am an old-fashioned fuddy-duddy, and I've been hopeless for years. But I do think, as far as cryptozoology, that I and the organisation I founded all those years ago do know what we're talking about. And then we have community notices. And the CFZ may be, as I've already hopefully shown, a reputable scientific organisation, but it is also a community. And as probably anybody can guess from the length of my hair, I'm an old hippie who believes in the importance of community. And so this magazine exists as well as for propagating and promulgating knowledge and doing our best to increase the boundaries of human knowledge. It's also a voice of a specific community which does our best to bring people together. And then we have, as I promised when I talked about the cover, the obituary of my old friend Tony Doc Shields, who was my mentor and in many ways a father figure to me, especially during my divorce. I loved the old boy dearly, and I will sorely miss him. He is, of course, best known to cryptozoologists as the person many people believe responsible for the Owlman and Morcar sightings of the late 1970s, and also the person behind this most famous photograph of the Loch Ness Monster, which people still argue about to this day. And then we go to our news pages, starting off with our new and rediscovered section, which is actually always my favourite bit of the magazine. And this time we're looking at new species of bat, new species of salamander, and new species of stingray, all of them with fascinating facets to their discovery, which really do something to shape the whole picture of the world of zoology and Fortean zoology in specific. And then we go to investigate this unlikely sounding story in closer detail. Back in February, big footprints, notice the gap between big and foot, were found on a coast path near a stretch of woodland outside Torbay, or rather on the very edges of Torbay, at a place called Maidencombe. And we went there in June to do our best to see if we could discover an enormous 9-foot tall hairy primate, or otherwise that we could find out at least some of the truth behind this story, and we look into it in some depth. And then we bring you the latest update to a story that I have been following personally since about 1993, and that, if I remember far enough back, we featured in the first issue of Animals and Men, that of the survival of pine martens in different parts of England, where popular opinion is that they were extirpated back in the late 19th century. The most recent events in this saga concern photographs of one of these creatures taken at the main steps of Clovelly, which is the next village along from where I live, and where my grandmother lived back in the 1880s and the 90s. And then we have an interesting article by Ulrich Megin on an alien big cat reported from Germany in the 1930s, and he follows this with a fascinating look at various cryptozoological and Fortean zoological occurrences in Germany during that time. And then we have an appeal for more regional representatives, a letters page, which actually is quite a few pages, and we have book reviews and a roundup of the latest publications from CFZ Press. And then that is the end. It's not a bad little magazine, and it's available on Amazon and all the other regular online bookstores. And if you don't want to pay for it, and you don't want a hard copy of it, wait another 3 months and it will be available for free to look at with all the previous issues on the CFZ website. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is about it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back on Saturday. What am I talking about on Saturday? You really don't expect me to answer that question, do you? But I actually know what I'm talking about on Saturday. It's the first of a 2-part episode with Richard Freeman talking about dragons, which those of you who have followed Richard's career will know that dragons are the thing that he loves and is fascinated by most of all. So that takes us up for another couple of weeks. Now, I'm going to be there, always on the Saturday, sometimes on the Wednesday, doing the notifications and doing the live chat and stuff. And so if you're going to be there, especially you, Mr. McCrennan, especially you, then I'm going to be seeing you.